Alrighty. Getting into this race, we are in P3 at the Daytona Road Course Daily Race B for the week. This race is quite a boring one in my opinion. The track is really simple, but what makes it so boring to me is there aren't a ton of opportunities for overtaking on this track. And so we're starting in P3. Any positions gained will be due to major mistakes from the people in front of us unless we do something absolutely heroic, or any positions lost will be due to major mistakes on our part. So this time around I'm actually doing my commentary after the race and not during. And so rather than giving you a walkthrough of what's going on my mind as I'm doing this and giving you my live reaction, I'm giving you kind of a post-race opinion on how this went. And so this race goes particularly well for me because I do end up taking first place. And whether I finish there, I'll leave that to the end. But I do end up moving up on the grid here at some point in this race. And I just wanted to talk through a little bit of that while also giving some light commentary on my thoughts about the track and my racing life. The first thing I'll point out is the meta. Last week we were at Dragon Trail Seaside Reverse, and the meta was absolutely the Toyota Supra, the racing concept Supra. And so for this race, however, the meta cars are the Ford GT Le Mans race car, which I'm using, or the Peugeot VGT Vision car. And so that's actually what you're seeing in front of me here, what Illist Illist is driving this, and then I'm pretty sure the pole position driver is in the Ford GT as well. Yeah. And so the differences between the cars, it seems to me like the Peugeot is a lot better than the Ford in 6th gear. The 6th gear for the Peugeot car is just insane, but for me personally, I found the Ford GT a lot easier to drive. I'm not sure the details about the Peugeot vehicle. I only tried it for about 10 laps and really couldn't like it. And then in my very first lap with the Ford GT car, I immediately beat my personal best with the Peugeot in a single try, and then I was able to break into the top like 600 at the time, just with about 10 minutes of practice with the Ford GT. So we're using that here. As you saw, entering the first chicane, we had a little bit of contact from behind us. X is a really good racer, but he's a pretty physical one. He'll get right up against you and grind his car against yours, and he's not afraid to try to beat you at braking and try to dive bomb you. Nothing outrageously dirty, but just not the safest or cleanest racing, which I'm not a huge fan of. So at this point in the race, what I'm really paying attention to is where my positioning is relative to the person in front of me and the person behind. So you can see in the table on the left the gap between us, and the goal for me is always a smaller gap to the guy in front and a bigger gap from the guy to the back. It's not that spectacular, but that's exactly what I'm doing here. I gained enough speed to attempt an overtake here against Illist going into this little chicane here in the final sector of the map, and I realize I'm not going to get a very good line at all going through the chicane, and so I kind of abandon it. And also, if I stayed there, there's a very high possibility that Illist and I would really collide into each other and mess up both of our races and potentially lose multiple spots for the both of us. So I play it really safe and back out. Like I said, there's not a ton of opportunities to pass people on this track. It's so high speed, and especially when these two cars are involved. Your best shot is probably here in this first sector. I have overtaken people right here and in the upcoming right-hander multiple times in this daily race. Illist, you see there, makes a mistake, gets on the power a little bit too early after turn 1 and spins out his car. He's able to slightly recover. He's currently in 4th place. But as you can see here, I've now set my sights ahead towards P1. I am pretty excited at this point because we have just crossed the halfway point of the race and I've moved up from 3rd into 2nd. And I don't really believe that I have a strong shot at 1st place at this point in the race. I'm kind of just assuming that I'm just gonna coast until the end here, play it safe, and finish in 2nd ahead of X. But I am also nervous because in the 2 races prior to this, X did pass me. So looking at the table on the left, you'll see that Illest actually overtakes X somewhere behind me there. They're going to have a little bit of a battle as this race goes on. And then you'll notice that my gap to 1st place has really decreased, and it's because exiting the chicane before this big straight, he did not get the best exit, and he's also going to compromise his exit a little bit here. It looks like he doesn't cut the corners as much as he should exiting that chicane, and so bit by bit I start to gain glimmers of hope that I can catch up and be competitive for a race win. But seeing as the fact that we're in the exact same car, same strengths and weaknesses, my only advantage over this guy right now is the slipstream. So I'm doing my best to try to stay right in line with him, but also not compromise my line too much, because he doesn't always take the optimal line through the course. So starting lap 4 here, we're right behind him, less than half a second gap to him, and I just want to keep this really tight. I know that if I can keep the pressure on him, he'll start to feel it and he'll crumble. And so I'm waiting for him to make mistakes. I'm waiting for him to start getting nervous and taking more defensive lines, which will ultimately slow him down, and then see if I can open up a window for attack. So this part of the section, or part of the track rather, is the sector where I said there's the best opportunity for overtakes, and we're exiting it now. So at this point, I'm kind of, again, realizing, okay, he's probably going to beat me, but look at his exit out of this little chicane here. He stays wide. He stays on the right side of the track, and it's very obvious that the left side of the track here is much faster. And I think he's trying to bait me into taking his slipstream, because if I do take that same line as him, I will have the slipstream, but we'll both be slow. And it'll give X an opportunity to catch up to me. So I don't take the bait, stay holding that inside line, and I know that he had a bad exit from this sector, this little chicane, last 2 laps, and so now it's my chance to try to capitalize on that. So coming in here, the slipstream's really helping us out. He's taking the proper racing line here, and I have enough momentum that I believe as this track straightens out, I'll have the chance to actually go at him with everything I've got for a final drag race, and this is pretty close here. And you can see at the very last second, we have just enough speed to pass him up. Look at that, we are 0.026 seconds behind this guy. Not even 300ths, not behind, ahead of this guy. And we win the race, and we take a lot of positive driver rating points here, with at least 2 A+ ranked drivers finishing behind us on the grid. Really happy with this race, really happy with the results, and turned out very clean. I don't believe we get the clean race bonus. Oh, no. I don't believe we get fastest lap, but we do get clean race bonus, which is a huge accomplishment in my eyes. So overall, Daytona, I'm not going to post a lot of videos this week because it's not the most exciting race, but very happy with the result, and looking forward to next week's races already.